Even though I've seen websites and blogs give the date of June 6, 1944, the day the Allies stormed the Normandy beaches, Forrest Gump was born somewhere between 1944 and 1945. You can see a reference of this on Jenny's tombstone with the birth date of July 16, 1945. And he was with the love of his life around the same age because they rode the same school bus together. He was born to Mr. and Mrs. Gump. There's no reference to their first name, but we do know that his dad abandoned him to go on vacation. He is named after Civil War General Nathan Bedford Forrest, a member of the KKK. Forrest refers to them as dressing up as ghosts, which for a small child, he may not have known because he had a very low IQ. Speaking of a low IQ, he had to get special treatment to get bumped into a regular school. And when I mean special treatment, I mean
your mama sure does care about your schooling, son.
We can see Curious George as one of his favorite books of all time, but we can see it being read to him by his mother at bedtime, which also in his briefcase on the bench. The setting of the atmosphere was the year 1981 because of the side of the bus and had a broad poster on it. Just as Curious George was his favorite book, chocolate was his favorite candy. Forrest started wearing braces on his feet around the age of 8, but I'm assuming by the look of things, my guess is that he was in a wheelchair before all of this, since it was his first time walking. I believe if he wore crutches, it would have been a different reaction. He looks as if this is his first time even standing up straight. Forrest was mild autistic, and from the explanation, I think he may have had scoliosis, but I could be wrong. Now let's take a look at Greenbow, Alabama, on Route 17. Now I couldn't find the actual town, but I did find in the novel that it was from Mobile, Alabama. He lived in a fairly nice house in the 50s, and it was a hand-me-down from family that they had turned into a board house named the Gump House as a business for people to come through when they go out of town. Many people came through to that house, even the great king himself, Elvis Presley, and Forrest looked more skilled on his braces. Now doing some research, Hound Dog was performed June 5, 1956 on the Milton Berle Show. Now this is where I'm having an issue understanding it could also be the creators. Blog research says Forrest started his braces around 8, but he was walking with his mom and his braces were still on his feet in 1956. But he was chased by kids a couple of days after he started school and his braces broke off and he was walking perfectly fine. Just a quick note to me. Moving along, speaking of chasing, Forrest found that after continuously being chased that it ran him right into a scholarship for college at the University of Alabama football program as a return man. I don't know if this was a reference to his autism. Football allowed him to be on the All-American team, which he was able to beat with JFK, which I looked up. He was in college for 5 years, but he ended up getting a degree. In the novel, it appears he fails English, which is understandable, but he also had an F in physical education, a class that he should have dominated. He was also attending college with Vivian Malone and Jimmy Hood in 1963, which also gives me the impression that Forrest was born in the 1940s because the average college student is between ages 18 and 22. Now let's get into Jenny. She played a big role in his heart, and you could say his life. Now her full name was Jenny Kern, and her son, she names him Forrest, but I don't know if he's a junior yet because of the last name. He might have Jenny's last name. Forrest was very aggressive over Jenny when he attacked people. Car fight, Black Panther party, and a nudie bar. Gump signed up for the U.S. Army where he met his best friend ever, Benjamin Buford Blue, aka Bubba, but he was also from Alabama. He was sent to Vietnam where he would eventually die from being wounded in the stomach in 1967. His second best friend, he also met in the military. Dan Taylor to us, but Lieutenant Dan Forrest. Forrest received a Medal of Honor in 1969, also intervened in the Black Panther Party. Now I looked and I could not give you an exact date, but I'm putting it in the time frame of 1968 to 1969 because of the Kodak camera model 134. Gump was an exceptional ping pong player. He traveled to China and taught many vets the art of ping pong. In 1971, Gump was invited to the White House again, and this time he met with Nixon to receive the U.S. Table Tennis Player of the Year award. He also was apparently a Deep Throat associate with the Watergate scandal, which caused Nixon to resign August 8, 1974. Now this was the year Gump was molded into the millionaire that he was because he brought his shepherding boat in the name of Bubba while naming it Jenny. His first crewmate aboard was Lieutenant Dan. There was no hopes for the shrimp business in the beginning, but an unusual storm came through the Gulf of Mexico, which brought shrimp with them. Similarly, Hurricane Carmen, and Forrest became an instant hit. This was also the era of dark times for Forrest because his mom fell sick September 5th, 1975 from being diagnosed with cancer. We can confirm this date because of the assassination attempt of President Gerald Ford happening that exact day. She died on a Tuesday. Forrest loved the shrimping business, but he would abandon ship at any minute if needed. He became a gazillionaire and he got invested into Apple shares. Jenny came back to Greenbow and she appeared while Forrest was cutting grass. He also said she came back because she really had nowhere to go. Forrest one day just started a cross-country journey, 1979 to be exact. We can hear the TV he runs past say President Carter fainted from heat exhaustion from a 6-mile race that actually takes place when he was running himself.
President Carter suffering from heat exhaustion.
But this is a conflict with the dates because the scrapbook has 1970 written all over it, and depending on the growth of his facial hair, he's been running for a while, but we'll say that for another time. Forrest has been running for 3 years, 2 months, 14 days, and 16 hours. He decided to head back to Greenbow, Alabama, or better yet, Mobile. Now Forrest decides to meet Jenny from a letter she sent to him in 1981. Now how can you say this? Because he was listening to the assassination attempt of Reagan back on March 30th, 1981. He went down to Savannah, Georgia, and got a big surprise. He met his son. Now, if he was running in 79, then his son would be 2 years old. In fact, we can see that he met up with Jenny in 76. Little Forrest is around 5 years old. Forrest marries Jenny while she is diagnosed with the unknown disease, which we know today as HIV, or probably AIDS from the speed it took her out. She was 36 years old. To me, Forrest was an exceptional man and father, even when he was faced with autism. He triumphed his young years of being picked on for not being considered normal because he wore leg braces. Even in his teenage years of being chased all the time by the local bullies back home, he did not let his autism hold him back from getting accepted to college, even if it was from a physical aspect. That says a lot for a guy that didn't even know how to walk when he was younger. He graduated from college with a degree and he served in the U.S. military. He never disrespected his family and he wasn't racist. He saw everybody the same. He brought harm to you only when you brought harm to him. Just being generous in life can get you a long way, and I believe that fella Forrest Gump for that reason.